The chamber was full, yet silent. Leaders from across the galaxy sat in curved rows, their glowing robes and mechanical suits reflecting the soft blue lights above them. In the center stood a single platform, where a hologram floated on image of Earth's representative. He didn't look impressive, not in the way other species did. No extra arms, no shifting colors, no glowing horns. Just a tall, quiet human in a plain dark uniform. I ask again. The human said calmly, for Earth to be accepted into the Galactic Council, we are ready. We are willing to share, learn, and protect just as all members do. The room stayed quiet for a moment. Then someone laughed. A deep, echoing laugh from the upper seats. It came from a large creature with silver eyes and a crown of Bon Ambassador Vreth, from the Sulari Dominion. Protect, learn, from you. Vreth's voice echoed. You speak of readiness, yet your species has barely touched the deeper stars. You live in metal cages and burn fuel to move. You argue among yourselves. You are not ready. More laughter followed. Others joined in, not all, but enough. Whispers and chuckles circled the room. A few council members remained silent. Eyes narrowed, thoughtful, but they said nothing. The human did not reply. He looked around once, then ended the transmission. The council voted minutes later. Earth's request was denied. Again, as the chamber emptied, no one noticed a small signal leaving the council's network, a private transmission heading toward Sol System. It read, they laughed. Proceed with Phase 2. Earth did not protest. Nope. Angry replies. No public messages. No warnings. They simply went silent. Trade ships stopped arriving. Communications ended. Even Earth's moon relays went dark. For a time, the council believed the humans had accepted defeat. Some forgot them. Others mocked them. A few grew suspicious, but said nothing. Then, something strange began to happen. Quietly, far beyond the core systems. A listening station near the edge of council territory stopped responding. At first, they thought it was a technical issue. Then a mining colony reported something odd, ships appearing on deep scanners, but vanishing before contact. The patterns were strange. The signals older than the council itself. Some believed it was a storm in subspace. Others thought it was a lost fleet from a forgotten war. One thing was clear. Something was happening far beyond mapped space. And the only race that didn't seem surprised was Earth. A meeting was called on Surathia, the council's capital world. Warnings had reached even the inner systems now. Ships gone silent, probes missing, even stars behaving oddly, blinking in unnatural ways. A new vote was called. This time, it wasn't about politics or trade, it was about fear. Who is investigating these disappearances? Asked one ambassador. We've sent patrols. None returned, replied a nervous technician. And Earth, someone asked. They are not answering calls. The chamber filled with murmurs. Then came the alert. A single low chime from the central sensor array. An unknown vessel had entered council-controlled space. No identification. Code no flag, but its path was direct. Its destination, Sirathea. At first panic rose. Defenses were charged. Fleets prepared to intercept. Then came the second signal from the approaching ship. A message. Just 2 words. From Earth. No one knew what to expect. A small ship. A scout. Instead, what arrived was unlike anything seen. Before it had moved slowly, far too slowly for a warship. Its shape was simple. Black steel, clean lines. No decorations. No symbols. But it was massive. Larger than any council carrier, and it didn't stop in orbit. It watched high above. It floated in silence. Not a single weapon activated, not a single demand made, just presence. The council scrambled. Messages were sent, scans were launched. Nothing worked. The ship's outer hull absorbed signals. Its core ran on something no council tech could read. The ambassador from the Vunari looked up from her console. This is not a warship. Then, what is it? Someone asked. She paused. It's a survivor, a traveler, a message built into metal. And then, finally, the ship spoke. A calm, clear voice, broadcast across the entire council network. You asked for help, we answered. No further explanation. No introductions. Just that. And with it, every delegate in the room felt something they hadn't felt in centuries. It wasn't fear, not yet. It was confusion, because the humans hadn't returned as beggars. They hadn't returned with anger. They had returned with anger. They had returned prepared. And no one knew why. The next signal came 10 minutes later. A data burst, sent from the Earth ship. It contained only old council report archives, marked as resolved and dismissed by previous generations. Lost ships, collapsed colonies, silent stars. Places the council had stopped, searching. All now connected by a single thread, a line drawn through the forgotten. And that line ended where Earth's ship now waited. In silence, above the council's most protected world, not demanding answers, not threatening power, just reminding them. Earth had been listening, and now, the galaxy would have to listen to. The ship did not move. It didn't rotate. It didn't blink. It just hovered. Above Surathia, the capital world of the Galactic Council. Earth's massive vessels stayed still in orbit, watching. The entire planet was locked in a strange silence. Traffic was cleared. Defense systems stood on alert, but no one dared fire. Every council sensor, satellite, and scanner focused on the same mystery. What was this ship doing here? Ambassador Vreth, once the loudest voice mocking Earth, now stood before the council's central screen in quiet disbelief. He leaned forward slowly, eyes fixed on the ship's dark outline, and spoke with rare seriousness. This is not the Earth we remember. Inside the council's command tower, Speaker Keltarok sat quietly. He was old, even by the standards of his kind. He had seen fleets rise and fall, had watched empires fight and fade, but this was something else. He opened a private channel to the Science Directorate. Have we identified the ship's energy source? No, Speaker, came the reply. The core is unreadable. It's emitting no heat, no known fuel signature, and it's not drawing from the nearby star. It's isolated. Keltarok's voice lowered. And communications. Only the single message. You asked for help. We answered. There was a long pause. Help with what? The speaker finally asked. No one had an answer. Below, on Sarathia's surface, whispers filled the cities. Some believed Earth had brought a message of peace. Others feared it was a delayed answer to old insults. But the truth was simpler and more terrifying. Earth had returned with purpose, and they weren't explaining themselves. Not yet. Inside the Earth ship, deep beneath the dark hull, Commander Ray Lorne stood before a long wall of data. Her ship had recorded hundreds of council failures, lost beacons, silent colonies, abandoned missions, all of them connected by quiet patterns no one had seen before. No one, except Earth. Earth hadn't stayed silent out of pride. They had withdrawn. For preparation, Lorne touched the final record. It was the oldest one, an expedition sent to the edge of mapped space by a small group of early human explorers. Long before Earth was denied council membership, they never came back. But the signal they left behind had recently reactivated just for 6 seconds. A soundless, broken pulse. That pulse had led Earth to build this ship. A ship not for war, but for endurance. Back on Sardea, council experts finally shared what little they'd discovered. The ship's outer plating was ancient, yet undamaged. Its systems were tightly sealed, layered under encryption so complex it didn't even resemble traditional code. And there was something else. A second signal. Faint, slow, hidden beneath the ship's initial message. Speaker Keltarok ordered it. Isolated. What they found chilled every translator present. It wasn't a language. It was a pattern, mathematical, and historical. And it wasn't Earth's. It matched deep space anomalies. Long dismissed as cosmic noise. Now it had shape, form, and the Earth ship had broadcast it, as if to say, we know what's coming. The council quickly called another meeting. Ambassadors of every species gathered in the central hall. Arguments breaking out even before the speaker could rise. Why are they not speaking to us directly? What threat are they answering? Why didn't they share this pattern before? Then came the bigger question. Do they think we can't handle the truth? This time, it was the Vunari ambassador who answered. Her voice was quiet but clear. Maybe. They think we wouldn't believe it. No one replied. Because deep down, they knew it was true. For centuries, the council had dismissed signs, warnings, and ancient signals that didn't fit their system. They called it background noise, sensor errors, failed probes, but Earth hadn't dismissed anything. They had studied it, silently, alone, and now, they had come back not to seek permission, but to confirm what they feared. Suddenly, the Earth ship moved, not toward the planet, but upward into deep space. On a straight path away from Surathia, the Council's tracking systems went active. Where are they going? They're heading toward the edge of the charted corridor, into the gray zones. That's unclaimed space. No, Keltarok said slowly. That's where things go missing. Eyes turned to him. The mining ships, the deep explorers, the listening stations. He said, that's where we stopped looking. Now Earth was going there. Alone. But Council watched as the dark ship passed through the outer ring of satellites and vanished into the deeper void. Not a word left. Behind. No demands. No pride. Just one quiet message left, blinking on Council channels. We will return, or we won't. Either way you'll know. And then it was gone. From that moment, the galaxy shifted, because Earth had done something no one expected. They hadn't come to warn, they had come to act. And the only question now echoing in every chamber, on every world, was this. What did Earth already know? Asterisk. There was no trail behind the Earth ship. It moved without exhaust, without beacon lights, without sound. Yet it left behind something the galaxy hadn't felt in centuries and answered questions. Where was it going? What was waiting for it? And why did Earth seem unafraid? The ship's dark hull slid silently beyond the last Council sensor ring, entering an area known in old charts as the Gray Verge. It was a region left blank on star maps, not because it was empty, but because it was uncertain. Too many probes had vanished there. Too many ships had passed through and never returned. The Council had marked it as unstable, space a no-go zone. Not forbidden, just forgotten. But Earth hadn't forgotten it. Inside the ship, Commander Ray Lorne studied a flickering display. Not a map, not a warning. A pattern shaped from hundreds of tiny signals, gathered over 80 years. Each marked a silence. a place where a transmission had started but never finished. Dax, her first officer, leaned over. Do you think they're all connected, Lorne? Didn't look up. Not all, but enough. He frowned. Why would no one else see this? She tapped one of the dots. Because they were looking for noise. We listened for absence. Far behind? On Sarathea, the council chamber remained unsettled. For the first time in decades, Earth had the galaxy's full attention and, yet they were gone. A few members wanted to follow. Others demanded Earth be stopped before it caused panic. Speaker Keltarok said nothing. He was watching the replay of Earth's last transmission again and again. We will return, or we won't. Either way you'll know. The calmness in that voice was not confidence. It was certainty. That's what disturbed him most. Earth didn't sound like it was warning the galaxy. It sounded like it already understood something no one else did. Deep in the gray verge, Earth's ship moved past stars, dimmed by time. It passed derelict ships, some ancient, some barely a few years old. All were empty, not destroyed, not torn apart, just powered down, frozen in place, like forgotten ideas. Dax reviewed the images silently. No signs of conflict, no distress. Codes. Exactly, Lorne replied. Whatever happened, left no mark, only silence. That silence wasn't empty though. The ship's sensors began to pick up something new. Not a sound, not a signal, a rhythm. It pulsed faintly across background. Radiation. A low repeating cycle that bent gravity just slightly enough to notice if you were really listening. Earth had heard it once before, a long time ago, and that's what led them here. Suddenly the ship slowed, not because of engine problems, but because they had arrived. Before them floated something not recorded in any council archive, a structure vast, hollow, suspended in open space like a shell around a forgotten planet. No doors, no light, no movement, but the rhythm pulsed stronger here, vibrating faintly through the ship's systems. Lorne stepped forward. Begin passive scan. The crew obeyed. Results came in slow. Material, unknown. Age, unmeasurable. Interior, unreadable, but the outer layer. It responded very slightly, as if it was listening back. Meanwhile, the council received a new transmission, but it wasn't from Earth's ship. It came from an ancient beacon, one that had gone offline over 200 years ago. Now suddenly it activated. On its own, the message it sent was simple. They're here. No coordinates. No origin listed. Just a repeat of those two words, over and over again. Council analysts tried to trace it. They failed. But one older historian found something disturbing. That exact message had been recorded once before. 400 years ago. During the first Great Silence, the period when 5-star systems lost contact within 1 month. No war, no crash, no signal, just emptiness. And the only thing recovered then was a damaged probe, carrying one message. They're here. Back. In the gray verge, Earth's ship opened a secure channel. Not to the council. Not to other humans. To it. The structure, no spoken language was sent. No demand. Only data. Earth's deep scan logs. Lost colony coordinates. Audio from ancient ruins. A map of missing stars. And one phrase encoded in the transmission's end. We know you see us. For 10 full minutes. The structure remained still. Then, something shifted. Not the structure itself, but space around it. A low wave passed through subspace. The rhythm stopped and was replaced by silence more complete than before. Lorne felt it immediately. It's thinking, she whispered. Dax looked at her. How do you know? Because we've said something no one else ever has. He blinked. What's that? We didn't ask it to speak. We told it we're listening. The crew waited and then, it happened. On from inside the structure, a faint light appeared. Not on the surface. Inside, hidden deep, it was a shape, not human, not alien, but somehow familiar, as if it had been pulled from collective memory, not just Earth's, but the galaxy's. And, with that single image, the Earth ship's systems responded. The AI whispered, signal matched, memory pattern recognized, human origin, possible. Lorne closed her eyes. This isn't just where things disappeared, she said quietly. This is where they were taken. And now, Earth had found the door, not to power, not to war, but to the truth everyone else had ignored. And the only question now was, would the galaxy believe what Earth was about to uncover? Asterisk. The crew didn't speak, they just stared. The structure floating in the void was no longer silent. Something had changed. A faint light now shimmered inside its hollow form, soft, distant, and pulsing in slow rhythm, like a heartbeat waiting to be remembered. It wasn't a beacon. It wasn't a warning. It was something much older. It felt familiar. And that's what made it strange. Commander Ray Lorne stood still on the bridge of the Earth ship, her gaze fixed on the display. We've seen that pattern before, she said quietly. Dax checked the archive logs again. The data came back quickly. The shape matches the ruins on Vanner 3, the ones buried under the storm layer. That was a failed colony, someone muttered. No, Dax corrected. It wasn't failed. It was erased. Long ago, Earth had sent a small team to Vanera 3. The planet had been listed as uninhabitable, but signals had been picked up beneath the surface. When the explorers arrived, they found no Citione fragments. Stone, metal, and strange carvings. The carvings looked almost human, but older, much older. The council had dismissed it as coincidence. Earth hadn't. They had stored the data, cross-referenced it with ancient Earth mythologists, forgotten signals, and star paths recorded by early human skunks. And now, here, in the deep quiet of the Gray Verge, that same pattern had appeared again. But this time, it moved. Inside the structure, lines of faint energy began to shift. They weren't dangerous. They didn't push or pull. They simply arranged themselves like threads in a loom building, something a memory. The ship's AI struggled to translate. This is not a message. It's a feeling, a shaped echo. Lauren stepped closer to the console, put it on screen. The image appeared slowly. Not a face, not a form, but a landscape. Blue skies, green hills, a sky filled with two suns, and standing in the middle, something tall, alone, watching stars fall like rain. No name, no language, just presence. And then, the image faded. The crew looked around, unsure of what they'd seen. Dax was the first to speak. Was that Earth? No, Lauren replied. But it was something Earth remembers, maybe before we even had words. Suddenly, the structure sent out another wave. This time it was data, massive in size, compressed, ancient, broken into symbols. Earth's systems could barely process. The crew watched as the translation started. The lines rearranged themselves slowly, forming timelines, maps, and clusters of events. One name kept repeating visually, not in sound. A spiral with 3 cuts. Across its core, Earth's AI paused. That symbol appeared in the Mars substructure, and once on the Orion fragment near the old station. Dax leaned in. That's impossible. Those sites were unrelated. No, Lawrence said. They were ignored. The deeper the ship read, the more one truth became clear. This structure wasn't sending information, it was responding. It had recognized Earth's long observation, its attention, its curiosity. It had seen what Earth saw, and waited to be noticed. Now, it was offering something back. An invitation. The next pulse came soft, direct, undeniable, a path. Not visible on any star map. Readable by council systems, but Earth's ship followed it anyway. It wasn't coordinates. It was directional memory. A way through space that wasn't measured in distance, but in connection. A corridor of forgotten moments. As the ship followed the invisible path, strange phenomena began to appear. Lights flickering like stars, but pulsing in wrong patterns. Empty satellites, still functioning, broadcasting old Earth radio signals from centuries ago. Then, finally, they arrived, a field of debris. Thousands of Battleship's probes, station parts whole, floating untouched by time. No scorch marks, no decay, no collapse, just quiet. Lauren's breath caught. This is everything that went missing. Dax scanned one of the ships. It disappeared 117 years ago, but the systems still show no time passed. The AI confirmed, temporal distortion present. Time flows differently here. They weren't in normal space anymore. They had entered something else. A vault, a memory, or maybe a waiting room. Ben, Earth's ship received a final signal, not from the structure, not from any ship, from something beneath the distortion field. It was slow, calm. It repeated one idea, again and again. We watched you, watch us. The crew didn't know how to respond, so they didn't. They just listened, because that seemed to be the one thing no other civilization had ever tried. And now, the stars were finally speaking back, not with threats, but with remembrance. And Earth, once mocked, once ignored, was finally where it needed to be, at the edge of something forgotten, and just about to be discovered. Nothing made sense anymore, not in the way the galaxy was used to. The Earth ship, alone in the strange corridor beyond mapped space, floated through what felt more like a dream than a region of the universe. Time didn't behave the same here. Light bent differently, and memories echoed in the silence, as if space itself was remembering things long forgotten. The field of ancient debris stretched out in every direction, countless ships from different species, eras, and designs, all untouched, all perfectly still. Yet Earth's ship continued to move forward. No harm had come to it. No warning had been given. Instead, the only thing the crew had received was that simple transmission. We watched you, watch us. It wasn't a threat. It was something deeper. Recognition. Commander Ray Lorne stood at the center of the command deck, her face calm, her eyes focused. Around her, the lights dimmed. Not from failure, but from choice. The ship was shifting its energy inward, preparing for something it couldn't fully define, and no one aboard could ignore the feeling anymore. Not fear, but wait, as if something large was watching them, not with eyes, but with awareness. Ship status, Lorne asked softly. All systems stable, Dax replied, but external sensors have stopped recording any physical distance. She turned slowly, meaning he looked at the data again, meaning, we're no longer traveling through space as we know it. Lorne nodded once. We're inside something. Back on Cerithia, the Council's central world, a strange alert had appeared in the old network, a beacon, one that had not been active in over 500 years. It had been part of the first deep exploration program, long before the Council had expanded its reach. Now it had activated on its own and it was sending fragments of strange data, memories, images, languages that were never decoded, and Earth's signal was among them. Only one message stood out clearly, flashing over and over again. They remembered us. The council met in emergency session. Ambassador Vreth, who once mocked Earth in public chambers, now sat silent. Keltarak, the speaker, spoke slowly. I no longer think Earth is chasing something. I think it has already found them. Number 1 disagreed. Inside the corridor, Earth's ship reached a central point. It wasn't marked by any structure. It wasn't shown on any star map, but the ship stopped moving on its own, as if gravity itself had shifted and chosen a place to pause. Then the lights dimmed again. And this time, the ship's own systems flickered not from malfunction, but from connection. The AI spoke softly. External interface detected. Permission request. Allow data merging. Lauren stared at the screen. Do we trust it? Dax replied. We've trusted this far. She gave a single nod. Permission granted. The ship, HUMMED. The walls didn't shake. There was no alarm. Instead, something unexpected filled the screens. Faces. Thousands of them. Some human, some alien. Some. Impossible to describe. But they weren't real-time images. They were echoes, memories stored in light and energy. One of the crew gasped. I know that face. That was one of the lost scientists from the old Titan mission. Another spoke. That's from the Ark project. Over 2 centuries ago, we thought they were gone forever. The AI confirmed what they all feared and hoped. At the same time, these are visual extractions from memory imprints, not taken by sensors, remembered by the structure. The silence on the bridge grew heavier. This wasn't just a strange area of space, it was a collector of memory, a keeper of what was lost. The next moment changed everything. The structure, or perhaps the intelligence behind it, spoke again, not in sound, but in pure information, a visual pattern, wrapped in numbers and thought, and one phrase stood out among the rest. Your kind saw us first. Lauren stared at the symbol. We weren't the first to arrive, she said. We were the first to understand what we were looking at. Dax asked. So what is it? What are they? Lauren didn't answer right away, because deep inside, she had started to realize the truth. Earth hadn't stumbled into something unknown. They had returned to NCL's something ancient, something that had once been connected to humanity long before the Council, long before records, perhaps even before Earth itself knew who it was. And now, that forgotten connection had opened again, not with answers, but with an invitation. Suddenly, the ship's main screen changed. It showed a new corridor, not a physical one, a path of stars arranged in a way that matched no known system, a design in the sky, a route that curved through silence and memory. The AI translated it simply. Follow. If you remember, no threat. No condition. Just trust. Earth's ship slowly began to move again, on a path no map could predict, and somewhere inside the structure behind them, the light dimmed once more as if it had passed the torch, and the silence that followed no longer felt empty. It felt shared. Back on Septidia, the Council watched the last known transmission from Earth's ship. They didn't understand most of what they saw, the lights. The faces, the silence. But one thing was now certain in every corner of the galaxy. Earth had not come looking for war, they had come looking for truth, and they had found it in the one place. The galaxy had feared to look in its forgotten self. The ship moved forward not through space, but through something deeper. There were no stars in this part of the corridor, no planets, only shapes in the dark. Shapes that weren't made of metal or rock. Shapes made of memory, motion, and silence. They drifted slowly like echoes of thought, floating across a dark canvas the universe had forgotten. The Earth crew didn't speak much anymore. There was too much to understand, too much to feel. Commander Ray Lorne stood at the command deck, watching as new data scrolled silently across the display. The ship was receiving something, a sequence, not a message, not coordinates. A journey. One that couldn't be charted by sensors or maps, one that had to be followed through understanding. Chi whispered to the crew, this path wasn't meant to be found. It was meant to be remembered. The crew didn't ask what she meant. They knew. Back in Council space, the great chambers of Sarathea were in chaos. Delegates argued, shouted, panicked. They demanded to know where the humans had gone, why they were being shown fragments of old missions, old ships, and people long thought lost. No one had answers. Then, without warning, all communication channels went quiet. One single message appeared across every Council screen at once, even on private networks. Simply read, it has chosen to speak. The Earth ship stopped. Before it, space had bent itself into a hollow ring of motion. Inside the ring swirled light, not normal light, but one that shifted in and out of time, like it was remembering different versions of reality all at once. The AI's voice softened, almost as if it were whispering. This is not an object, it's not a station. Lauren stepped forward. Then what is it? A mind. The data confirmed it. They were now inside a field generated by something vast, not mechanical, not artificial. It wasn't built. It had grown. A sentient field, a thinking memory, and Earth's ship was not alone anymore. A second presence had arrived. but not from outside, from within. A voice entered the ship, not through sound, not through code. But through emotion. A feeling of being seen, not judged, not tested, just understood. The message was clear. Even though no words were spoken, you looked back. And then the connection deepened. Images poured into the ship's core. Visions of long-lost civilizations, some known, some never recorded. Worlds that rose, reached for the stars, and vanished without trace. All had passed this place, but none had paused, except one. One species had stopped and watched, had listened, had remembered. Earth. Then the crew was shown something else. A brief vision of Earth, not as it is, but as it once was. Ancient forests, stone circles, skies filled with lights from forgotten satellites, humans standing beneath stars, looking up not to conquer, but to wonder. The presence whispered not in voice, but in knowing. You are not the first, but you were the first to wait. Lorne's voice cracked softly. So, you've been watching? The feeling replied. We don't watch, we listen. And then came the final moment. A single question filled the minds of the Earth crew, not asked by the presence, but by themselves. Why us? And the answer came in a form no machine could decode, because when others shouted into the stars, you paused. The ship began to change, not in shape, but in awareness. Its systems grew quieter. Its walls shimmered with soft, shifting light. Even the crew felt lighter, less burdened by fear, by pressure, by the weight of what they had seen. They were part of something now. Not soldiers, not explorers, messengers, carriers. Of a truth the galaxy had forgotten, that the stars did not belong to empires. They belonged to memory. And memory, once truly honored, could speak. As the ship turned, the corridor behind them faded, not closed, not erased, but folded gently behind like a page of a book. No one chased them, no one followed. They returned on a new path, one that left no trail. When the ship reached Council space again, it did not stop on Sarathea. It didn't dock. It didn't transmit orders. It simply hovered, just as it had before, and then, for the final time, it spoke. We found the silence, and it remembered us, and then it vanished. Not into war, not into darkness, but into a place beyond charted thought. From that day forward, Earth was never mocked again, because what they had discovered could not be explained, only felt. And somewhere out there, in the quiet between stars, something vast was still listening. Not for power, not for pride, but for those who remembered and dared to listen back.